my track work is getting to the point where I've just really got this loop to do. It's track work laying time. I could probably knock it off in an afternoon, but this is the problem. It's trying to bridge this little gap here where the basically the track will go round the loop, as we've seen on the previous one, around the outside there, back up around and under here, and it's this gap here that's causing me the problem. I've pulled out a load of, I've got half a dozen bridges, kit bridges. None of them are suitable for the job because it's on a curve, an angled bridge. So I've set myself a challenge of making, I'm going to try and scratch build a bridge, and this is going to be a thing more of function rather than form. I've got these bits of aluminium square rod which are leftovers from part of one of my wife's blinds that she's put up. Got a bit of card there and a couple of old birthday cards. So see what we can do with all of that. So I've cut a piece of that heavy duty card with the angle that makes the shape that it needs to be to go across the gap, and then with the pieces of alloy I've trimmed them with a mitre on each end, and the plan now is to use some 2-part epoxy glue here and some clothes pegs and glue the metal strengthening strips to the deck plate, and hopefully they will be, well, they should be strong enough to take the weight of the locomotive and give some good sturdy shape to the deck plate. Right, well, the bridge deck, now that the glue is set on those, this is, I mean, that's pretty rigid. I'm twisting that. I don't think there's going to be any problems with that supporting the weight of the locomotive. So what we need to do now is try and build up a couple of plate girder sides so it looks like a bridge. And we're not looking for anything exactly prototypical, just something that's more of an impression of what a plate girder bridge should look like. It's not going to pass any close inspection, so let's get on with it. Yes, the failing eyesight has certainly made one of these magnifying things not just useful, but actually very, very essential. And I've changed the blade on the knife, so I've got a brand new knife blade here, so it's obviously making cutting the card nice and clean, and also you can get it to cut through on the first. And then once you've looked at the diagram and found out where you want your rivets to be, or your picture, it's a case of then marking them out on the card and using the pounce wheel, and with firm downward pressure draw a line using something. I'm just using a piece of card that's actually thick enough here to take the weight of me pushing up against it. And you end up with, on the other side, you end up with a slightly raised bunch of dots. Pretty hard to see probably on the thing there. I don't know what it's going to look like. It may be very faint, but I'm hoping that with a bit of paint and some highlighting, it should sort it out, bring it out. You know, hopefully just sort of bring it to life a wee bit. So what you end up with it when you've finished all your cutting out, you end up with a bunch of parts. We've got a few bits and pieces ready to go here, and then you just stick it together like you would do with any kit. And I prepared the other side earlier, and this is what I've ended up with. It's something that looks, well, you can see the construction on it there. And what we'll have to do is see how everything looks with a bit of paint on it. Okay, just at the stage now where I'm going to start gluing the bits and pieces down to the base. Just using white glue and a paintbrush here just to carefully apply it. And it seems to have held the whole job together pretty well. Okay. And then the next stage is obviously just to just
start putting some weathering on, a little bit of weathering chalks. Just putting a little bit of a fade on here to start with, and I'll follow that up with some rust. Okay. Yep. So just putting a few little rust spots on with some oil paints. Just I have looked at some prototype photographs, but I'm just tending to go a little bit more random on this one. Freelance, impressionistic.
Word of warning, don't actually glue the sides onto your bridge until you've offered it up to make sure that everything actually works properly. I've had to surgically remove the side pieces and glue new base pieces on, because when I offered the original deck up, with the fact that this bit of track is on a curve, it wasn't actually wide enough. So luckily I've salvaged the side pieces and I've made a new base piece. So I'm going to slot that in and line everything up, make sure everything's okay. The bridge abutments, I've just made those out of plywood, which I've clad in a kind of a printed, it's a commercially available printed. This is supposed to represent weathered concrete. It's not too bad, although slight, maybe it's just the light, but there's a slight sort of purplish tinge to it, which I'm not 100% happy about. We'll see if I can sort that out with a bit of weathering powders and things later. See if this new deck slides in okay. I'm sure it will. There we go. So it'll probably end up mounting about there. And then the two side rails, I'll just be able, so the bit of tolerance there on the fit, which means I can adjust it to get it to the right spot, and hopefully then glue everything down,